Teri M in Fallsington. New customer. Scope of work is trimming, bed cleanup, mulch, kind of just a general overall cleanup of the property. So starting in the backyard, it's a decent sized property, about a half acre. It's like a deep lot. So all over here, actually we didn't even walk over here, but that bed, if you could clean it up, a little bit of weeds and throw down a little bit of mulch. All this you can just leave it go for now. We'll probably come back in the fall and do a lot of other stuff. This bed, just lightly clean it up, blow it out, get the weeds out, throw down a little bit of mulch. Same thing here, clean it up, a little bit of mulch. And then starting in the back bed here. So yeah, just like a general cleanup of weeds, grass, try to cut an edge. They weren't like crazy particular on cutting an edge in the bed, so I wouldn't put like crazy emphasis on it, but if you can try to get somewhat of a defined edge, again, I wouldn't go bonkers, but especially in the bed, like back here, it's so far back, they're not really looking at it. So some of the front beds, maybe put a little more emphasis on it, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just try to get the beds cleaned up. All the clovery stuff, you know, put some pre-emergent down, maybe spot spray a little bit. All the hostas, tall grasses will stay. This azalea is okay. Just yank the weed out. All this viney ivy stuff, kind of get it out of here. And then some fresh mulch. You got a vine here, yank, weeds, all this, clean up. This weed, clean up. Like I said, leave all the hostas. Anything, I mean, it's kind of like a judgment thing across the board. We walked everywhere, but this thing, you can just get it out of here. All the weeds and vines, clean up. This thing, you can lightly prune and shape. Clean this up, lightly prune and shape. Hosta you can leave alone, but there's a couple weeds growing up through it. Grasses can stay alone. Clean up the weeds behind there. Moving over to this bed, try to yank these vines off the fence, kind of cut this back. All these like peonies that you see, I would just like trim them back a couple inches to get like basically like a deadhead type of deal. This bush, just trim and shape the whole thing. All the bushes, they kind of want cut back pretty dramatically, and they want separation between the different plants. They said they missed the mark on their spring cleanup, so everything's just a little more grown than they like it. This viney thing on here, yank off. This bush here that's like in the fence, just trim it back to the fence line. Be careful not to clip the actual fence itself, just cut to it, and then the top, try to cut back. You don't have to go on the other side and go trim the entire thing, just kind of what you can get. I mean, if you want to go over there and touch it up, you can, but it's not a big emphasis. Over here, prune and shape, deadhead, prune and shape. There's that bed I talked about in the first beginning part of the video. Just kind of clean it up, mulch it. All these peonies, just kind of deadhead them, cut them all back a little bit, shrink them down, sneak a little bit of mulch in there. Over here, prune and shape this guy. All this stuff, trim back to the concrete walkway. Give them somewhat of an edge here a little bit. Clean up the beds, mulch it. The grasses you can leave alone. We'll wait till the fall for all that stuff. All this you can leave alone. This whole holly you can trim and shape it up. Kind of blow out these beds a little bit of the droppings, haul that away, clean that up. Didn't say doing anything here, so you can leave that alone. Any droppings here on the ground, you know, let's just pick them up while we're out here. You know, just kind of clean up the front. No real major cutbacks, just weeds that you see, clean them up. Throw down some mulch. Again, trim this holly like I said. You got some viney, weedy stuff growing here. Got some little hostas you can leave alone. Going over to here, the two azaleas can use a light trim back. There's some droppings and such in the bed here. You can rake them out, clean it up. This guy, you can basically borderline remove it, but at worst, just cut it back dramatically. You want everything cut back to the wood ties. These hostas, kind of trim them back. We'll probably come back in the fall to thin them out a little bit. Just trim these things back off the walkway to the wood ties, and same thing here, kind of trim all this back to the walkways. Rhododendron, just want to trim the top down to bring the height down a little bit, maybe trim this side a little bit, and most importantly, because I want to get the house painted, they said more about that rhododendron, but trim it back kind of off the house. It's creeping onto the kind of deck there a little bit of weeds there to clean up. Fresh mulch in here. This rhododendron's a big one. Trim the whole thing, Again, more emphasis to bringing it off the house. Also want to trim it to create some separation between this butterfly bush and this azalea. This azalea you can lightly trim up, shape up, kind of clean up these beds, mulch them. She did mention try not to load up the mulch up against the house, so leave a little bit of a border, like a little bit of empty spots between the house and the mulch bed before you're putting mulch down. Clean these beds up, edge them, mulch them. This rhododendron is like basically dying, so you can just yank the whole thing out. You'll notice the roots actually like is all the way back there. It's growing like sideways. Must have fell over and kept growing. So yank that out. Hostas you can leave alone. This thing, just trim it all back, kind of shrink it down for her. Get it off the, you know, plant there. This you can just leave alone entirely. She said don't touch it. She really likes it. Here you can shrink this down, just give some separation between the ferns and that. This guy, just leave it alone. They just planted it, so they're just going to leave it be. Again, no mulch up against the house. Leave a little bit of a barrier there. He just dug out this trench as like a drain because they have water that sits right below the steps. So when you're doing mulch, don't put any mulch in here. Don't fill this in at all. Leave this ditch for his water flow, water runoff. These guys, so these grassies will stay. Try to pull these guys out and these guys out, and then you can leave this bunch here. But you know, want to try to remove these, keep that. I would just take a string trimmer and like do a light little manicure trim to this, all these grasses into the pachysandra. Just give it a light trim, nothing insane. Kind of square off the walkway here with your string trimmer, edge it up. Hostas are gonna just leave them alone for now. In the fall we'll look to thin them out. A little bit of mulch can go in here. Over here, same thing, string trim, kind of give a little bit of definition, kind of string trim around there, a little bit of definition. This rhododendron, just kind of trim the whole thing back, kind of again get it off the house. Got a lot of leaves and debris and such under here, so do a really good blowout of these, get that mulch out of here, and then put down some fresh mulch. I wouldn't use these bags, but if they want you to use them, put them somewhere where it's not visible, because I'm sure it's not going to match what we got and look good. Yeah, all these peonies, just kind of trim everything back, kind of shape it up a little bit. More about deadheading, like all this stuff. And then just kind of shrink everything a little bit. This guy, probably going to want the 12 foot. You might be able to get away with the 8 foot. It's probably about 10 foot high, so the 8 foot, you might be able to do it. It might be easier with the 12 foot. I know I say that, but trim this back and then come in here with, you know, even the snips will probably do it. All we want to do is kind of cut out some of this wood in here that's dead, or at least not having any growth. Just a couple snips here and there, just to like open it up so that it gets a little better airflow going through there. It can breathe a little better. And then over here, you know, just kind of clean up the beds, mulch them, deadhead your peonies here. I forgot to mention this, there is a rose bush here. She said she might have a spot for that to be planted, so I'm not gonna put a line item for it. It's real small, just if she has somewhere, plop it in. And that's basically it. The last little bit here, just kind of clean up the bed, mulch it, trim this back a little bit. I would leave that azalea alone. There is some nutsedge out here, so I would just bring nutsedge spray. I probably won't pre-spray because it's not that much. Try to get the kind that's safe for lawns because there's so many plants right here and the grass right here. So if they don't, I mentioned it to them, so he might go and spray it himself. But if not, let's just spray it and kind of leave it alone. Don't try not to pull them because they'll just come back. And that's it.